Hi, welcome back. In today's video, I thought I'd keep with the theme of getting to know House of Kraken and myself by showing you guys some of my favorite polymer clay tools and accessories. So let's get to it. Okay, my first tool is this. It's not a tool, it's more of an accessory. This is a We Are Memories Keeper cutting mat. It's actually a scrapbooking mat. This retails for about $16.99, I believe, but I was able to purchase it with a 60% off coupon at Michael's, and so I paid less than $7 for it. I've been wanting one of these for a while, since I first started polymer clay. I was watching a polymer clay Tutor video where she talked about this mat. It's actually a glass cutting board, it's not a mat. But I love that it has the measurements on it. It's a lot easier than busting out the ruler because it's already on here. It also helps me with cutting more precise lines and things, like when I did the Easter basket on my Easter votive. It's also a great tool to use if you do a lot of blends, because you can kind of measure out what you want right here on the mat. There's no need to break anything out. It's a lot very handy, like easier. It's also a larger work surface than my previous work surface, which was just a I believe a 12 by 12 just marble tile I bought at Home Depot, which is great. I actually still use it. It's on the other side of my desk, covered in all the tools. Maybe I'll show it at the end. Okay, first up, I'm going to show you guys the tools that I use most often, in no particular order. These are just kind of my go-to tools. I use them every time I sit down, pretty much. In fact, I'm working on some more hair breadths, and these are the only things I'm using for those. And they are my X-Acto knife, a simple small blade, next up is this dotting tool. That's one end, there's the other. I use this for texturing. I'm not using it right now, actually, at all on what I'm working on, but I do use this almost every time I sit down, especially this. I use this is what I use if you watch the time-lapse video of the tree. This is what I use to do the texture on this end right here. And then this is a tool that I made myself, just using a straight pen for sewing, and I wrapped clay on the bottom. And I use this for texture, detail. I also use it a lot to kind of just pick up smaller pieces, like those small roses on the barrettes. And then this is just some translucent clay. This is actually a Sculpey brand. I didn't have something in the package. I'm almost out. As you can see, it's quite dirty, but I keep this on the corner of my desk. Scrap clay. This is what I keep lint and things off my hands with. I will run it through my pasta machine if I hadn't used it in a while, to get the lint and any clay that might be stuck to the blades and the rollers. But I always keep this on the corner of my desk, always at reach, and I play with it constantly. Like I said, you can see this is quite dirty already. Okay, so those are probably, these tools right here, with the addition of my pasta machine, are the tools that I use the most. And I think you could get by with just these and tools in the beginning. Just kind of some kind of dotting tool. In fact, I used to have a dotting tool that I made myself, but I pushed the push pin the other way, or the straight pin rather, the other way instead of the point the tip was in, and it made a little dotting tool. And maybe I'll make a video on how to make those at some point. But yeah, so these are really, I use these the most frequently out of all of my tools, and not pictures of my clay machine, which is a pasta roller. I got that at AC Moore for $14-ish. Anyway, on to the next thing. And the rest of these are in no particular order. But probably this these are my blades. This came in a kit. This is a stiffer blade, it's a little bit longer than the other. It comes with handles. These are Sculpey blades. I really like these. I upgraded. I originally just bought this one with this, and I was always putting this thing on the wrong side, and nicked myself a few times with that. I still use this. I use this sometimes, like if I'm taking my clay stuff out, because it won't be. This was fairly expensive. I think it's like $4. So if I lose it, I'm not that distressed over it, but I would be kind of sad if I lost this. I love the handles. It's a lot easier to kind of get an even slice with this, I think. Also, you know which side is the top, so you don't cut yourself. The other blades that came with it, this is a really flexible tissue blade. And then these wave blades, which I used to use a lot when I did jewelry and I did mukumagane techniques. I don't use them as much anymore, but I do still use them occasionally. I just used the smaller one recently to decorate Easter eggs for my Easter votive. So these, this I believe was, I want to say $19, 20, right around 20. I don't know. I don't pay, you'll learn through this, I don't pay full price for anything. It's just not my style, so all of this stuff I've gotten a discount on. So I have a hard time remembering. I looked some of the prices up before I started this, but I didn't look everything up. And up next is the rest of my dotting tools. I do use my dotting tools a lot, especially for texturing like tree trunks and things. I use these double-ended ones. You can find them on eBay, Amazon, all kind of places. They're fairly inexpensive. These were gifted to me, and yeah, I use them a lot. And then, kind of in the similar theme, I use these a lot as well. These are the Sculpey Style and Detail Tools, I believe is what they're called. They were $9.99, but again, I used a coupon on them, probably half off. But they have a nice rubber silicone tips for blending. I use the ball tool end of them mostly. These are great, again, for blending the tree trunks out. Also, making larger flowers. And you can get kind of a cool dome shape on these bigger ones, which I just did for a mushroom. And I have also these little blending tools, silicone blending tools that I bought, I believe off eBay. I don't remember. I'll see if I can't find a link to something similar. But I use these a lot as well for blending. As you can see, they're kind of, I do mostly tree trunks with these. As you can see, which one I use the most out of those. Yeah, so those are all the style and detail tools. Now onto kind of texture. This is my texture mat for scales. This came in a kit from Hobby Lobby. It came with a wood grain, a star, and a snowflake. I don't really use these that often. I kind of prefer to hand do wood grain texture, though I think this would come in handy if I were doing a larger surface on something. I have used the stars before, and so, but I don't use, I have another snowflake thing that I use more often than I do. I believe that was like $4.99 at Hobby Lobby, but I do use that a lot. That's what I do all my scale stuff with. With the exception of the light switch covers. The light switch covers, I used that wave blade that I showed earlier. Here's another thing that I used to use this a lot more often than I do now, because I don't make a whole lot of jewelry, but I do use them for making earrings. These two and this one primarily. I have made earrings using both of these. This is upside down. I have made earrings using both of these like together, and that looks really neat. This is actually a Wilton, no, it wasn't upside down, it was a Wilton silicone mat that is actually made for fondant. I bought it in the baking section. They have flowers, cherry tree things, letters, animals, for cake decorating. But they also work really great with polymer clay. Polymer clay and fondant have a very similar texture. This retails for about $9.99 everywhere I've seen it. Again, I got it for half off. Yeah, so that's something that I use. Oh, another thing also about this is that you can actually bake in this, because since it's silicone, it is a kitchen grade silicone. So you can just pop this right in your oven. So if you're worried about, I've used like the liquid clay in here before. Which is pearl and the gold. I don't have the silver. I have baked stuff in there before, or put alcohol ink in liquid clay and baked it in here before. I'm still kind of perfecting the technique, but I also have baked, or I've had a pattern in one of these things. I have baked it in there so that I wouldn't lose that pattern. It wouldn't get distorted when I pulled it out of the mold, because sometimes it is hard to get, because it is just kind of a flat back, so sometimes it does distort a little bit when you try to get out of the mold. And I have baked it and made the earrings at separate times. Okay, next texture tool is just a toothbrush. This is a kid's toothbrush that we got in a bag from the dentist's office. I need a new one. It's been used a lot. I use this on some of the grass techniques that I do, also my snowmen. I use this quite a bit as well. Next up is my paper punches. These are actually all paper punches. I bought these 3. I have more of them. I bought these 3 from AC Moore, and they're part of the dollar stuff that they have. And if you've seen any of my holiday votives, you'll recognize the bat, the cat, and the stocking. These are great for, you know, getting these really small. They're very, very small. My hand is probably not a good example of how small they are, because I have tiny hands, so these are about 1 centimeter. So they're very tiny, and so it's great for getting, you know, when I do the votives, I need tiny things, and it's great for kind of punching those out quickly. I have those, and then I have a snowflake that came from Michael's, and this butterfly that came from Hobby Lobby. And these are all run about between $1 to maybe like 2 or 3. But they're very inexpensive. I have larger ones that I use some as well. But I like those for small details. Up next is my Walnut Hollow clay extruder. The logos come off of it. These retail for about $29.99, but again, I probably used about a 60% off coupon for this. And I have some clay extruded out of there. I really liked this kit in particular. I did a lot of researching and reviews. And I like this kit in particular because it came with the extra O-rings, which is great because I've already ripped through. It comes with lots of discs, different sizes, different things so you can do with them. But I really liked it because they all come with these. These are kind of all the standard sizes and shapes, but I like that it came with these. I've already had to replace one because it snapped. It's really good quality. It's lasted a while. As you can see, I kind of abuse it and it's still going. I use it a lot more. It's great for when you want even things. I use it a lot more. I find I use it a lot around Christmas time because a lot of the things I do, I need more precise widths and things to match up, especially when I'm making like the scarves for my snowmen. and that type of thing. It's just easier. Okay, and then I have my Sculpey Bacon Bond. I use this a lot. It's great. I use this as a, instead of translucent clay, a lot of times. The translucent clay bakes a more glossy than this. This is more of a matte finish than the translucent clay that I have. And I like that because a lot of the things I don't, if you're going to put a glaze on it, doesn't really matter. But I don't glaze a lot of my stuff. And if I do, I use a matte finish on it. Or I'll use matte finish in certain areas or not glaze certain areas. So I like that this is more matte. So I can use it and I don't have to worry about, like, well, if I'm going to use this, I'm going to have to gloss over it. But also it's great for, I think it's more versatile because, again, you could use it just like liquid clay. But it is a bakeable adhesive. So you can glue unbaked clay or raw clay to baked clay. And this is great because I've actually been able to, or I have in the past baked clay to baked clay by putting this in between, which is great for repairing things. One of the first Celtic cross that I made with the clovers, one of the clovers broke off right after I popped it out of the oven. So I just let it cool off, put some of this on, baked it, and it was good to go, and never had a problem again after that. So this is great stuff. And then these two, they're just little spray bottles. This is water and this is rubbing alcohol. I use rubbing alcohol a lot. It gets clay off of your hands. You know, if something, you know, red clays especially tend to dye your hands. This gets it off. I also work a lot with alcohol ink, so this gets that off your hands. And then water can kind of help smooth off or clean. I found that this works better for smoothing stuff out most of the time because it dries quicker or evaporates quicker than water. But water is great for a mold release. So if you're going to be using a mold or a texture sheet, spray it down. Or if you're going to be measuring, layering two pieces of clay where you want to cut them the same, but you don't necessarily want them to stick together, you spritz a little water on there, pop right off. So those are great to have on hand. The little bottles are great too. They give you like the perfect little mist. I bought those at Target in the dollar spot. And this I bought at AC Moore for a couple bucks. It's just a paint pan, the small one. I use it for chalk pastels, for shading things, and also I use it to dip my alcohol ink, or put my alcohol ink to dip my brush in, which are, I use alcohol ink a lot. I don't use chalk pastels that much anymore, but I do use alcohol inks quite a bit, so this comes in handy. And it was inexpensive, so it was a good investment. And now for kind of when I'm finished, the things that I use the most. This is just a glass nail file. And I will use this to file off the rough edges of pieces. If, for example, if I'm using one of my cutters, if you can avoid that if you cut through plastic, but a lot of time that rounds out the edges too much and that's not really the look I'm going for. It's also great for when I use that mold, I can kind of file off the rough edges. And the last thing I use is this hand drill. It's just a drill bit. You can put any kind of drill bit you want in there. But I use this for making my earrings. I find that if you drill the hole in the clay afterwards, it doesn't distort the clay as much. It doesn't make it look weird. It's more of a clean entry. Exit is a lot easier to do. I do often will use, a dotting tool or a needle tool and make a guideline for where I want it to be after it's baked. Because if I mess up, it's a lot easier if I mess up when the clay's raw, I can kind of fix it so it's more accurate. But I use this quite a bit when I make earrings or anything that needs a hole in it. And I think that's about it for actual physical tools. Okay, this is probably last but not least. These are fairly new with their storage drawers. I love these. I've been wanting them since I started, and I'm glad I finally invested in them because I had a lot of clay that it wasn't getting used because I kind of forgot it was in there. I was just reusing the same colors that I use a lot. I got these and I remembered that, oh wait, I have all of these colors and they never get used. And I was mixing some colors that looked almost exactly like colors I already had, but I didn't, I was just, because this is how I sorted before. It was just in a box like this. It's a mess right now. It was more organized than this. Yeah, I mean, that's what it looked like before. And so, except there were 3 of these, I think. Right now, this is just kind of my overstock. I don't have enough room for all of my clay. My metallics aren't in here. My glitter clays aren't in here. Right now, I need a 3rd one. I thought 2 would be enough when I bought them, but I clearly underestimated the amount of clay that I have. But a lot of my clay is backup stuff. I buy, when it's on sale, I'll buy kind of in bulk the colors that I use a lot, so I keep a lot of those on hand. Okay, so I hope you guys enjoyed that look at my favorite / most used tools, and the one takeaway you guys can take from this is don't pay full price for anything. That's kind of my motto. Also, do your research, and that you don't need to have a lot of tools to get started if you're new with this. I certainly didn't. I started out with a pack of $3 tools from Michael's and some handmade things that I made. I'll try to find links for the videos about how to make your own tools in the description box below. I also will try to link as much of the products I have purchased in there for you as well. So I hope you enjoyed this, and thanks for stopping by, and I'm looking forward to seeing you guys next time. If you did like this video, make sure that you like and subscribe, and if you want to keep notified, go ahead and click that little bell next to the subscription button so it will notify you when I post a new video. Thanks again for watching. See you guys soon.